In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? Ain't it just like a friend of mine to hit me from behind? Yes, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind.
If you're a Southerner, either by birth or by choice, you know what it is to savor the fresh, sweet scent of magnolia blossoms on a summer day. You welcome the first frost of autumn, and you relish the taste of the first vine-ripened tomato each season. If you're from North Carolina, you wonder at the majesty of the Blue Ridge Mountains, marvel over the numerous technological advances achieved in the highly industrialized Piedmont, and recognize the coastal plain as not only beautiful, but as the birthplace of America. If you're from historic Murfreesboro, you know that the town is located in the old Albemarle region of the state between the Roanoke and Chowan rivers. In fact, Murfreesboro was first visited by John White of Roanoke Island in the 16th century and by an expedition from Jamestown in the 17th century. Indians lived along the shores of the northeastern North Carolina rivers. In this area lived the Algonquin Indians, who belonged to the Choanoke and Meherrin tribes. All along these banks, the Indians speared or netted fish, hunted for deer, black bear, and turkey with bow and arrow in the thick forests. Old deeds indicate that settlers lived on the site that became Murfreesboro as early as 1710. These new residents were quick to realize that theirs was an excellent location for inland trade. William Murphy, an Irish immigrant, established a King's Landing where exports and imports were inspected by a representative of the English crown. That site was known as Murphy's Landing. In 1787, William Murphy donated 97 acres for the incorporation of the town, which was named for him, Murfreesboro. Murfreesboro was the port of call for 18th and early 19th century sailing vessels that brought New England, West Indian, and European goods in trade for naval stores and agricultural products of eastern North Carolina. Today, historic Murfreesboro is one of the most outstanding grassroots preservation programs in the state, with over 35 historic structures that have been restored. Visitors are welcomed daily to tour the multifaceted museum structures in the historic district. First on the tour is the Roberts Vaughan Village Center, which was built in 1790 and is owned by the town of Murfreesboro.
Welcome to historic Murfreesboro and the Roberts Vaughan Village Center. This marvelous Greek revival facility boasts of many significant architectural features. Please come inside, and I'll point out a few. Notice, if you will, the original marbleized stair risers and the graining on the doors. Also notice the H and L hinges found here in the dining room. The house has been adaptively restored, so you will note the town library, the Chamber of Commerce office, and the Historical Association headquarters. Now I really want to show you the upstairs bedroom in the house because there is a delightful love story which took place here. In 1816, a girl named Mary Ann Roberts lived here. Mary Ann was very lovely and had many beaux. One of her gentleman friends, who would often call on her, was General Boone Felton, a successful man and a representative of Hertford County in the state legislature. Perhaps due to her parents' influence, Mary Ann agreed to marry General Felton, although she really loved the handsome and dashing Matt Murphy, grandson of the town's founder. Matt lived in Melrose, a beautiful plantation house just across the field. The story has it that Mary Ann and Matt would send messages to one another by placing lighted candles in the windows of their upstairs bedrooms. On the afternoon before her planned wedding to General Felton, Mary Ann sent Matt a note by her doctor, promising, so the story goes, to elope with him that very night if he so desired. Matt decided that he would marry her and helped Mary Ann sneak away that same night. Matt and Mary Ann Roberts were married outside of town. It is said that Mary Ann's family was so disgraced by her actions that they disowned her completely. They even stopped using her name. General Felton came to dishonor of his own, and in later years died of what doctors called a broken heart. Today, in the Roberts Vaughan house, you can see this bedroom where Mary Ann slept. Then you can ride by the fine home of her young husband, Matt, just a short distance away. Now, let us ride from the Roberts Vaughan house to the home of Matt Murphy, Melrose.
In the early 1800s, Melrose was the home of the Murphy family. Matt Murphy was the grandson of William Murphy, the founder of the town, and the son of Hardy Murphy, the hero of the Battle of Stony Point in 1779. Can any of you guess what was the grandest day in the history of old Murfreesboro? Well, it had to be the day that General Lafayette visited here on the first leg of his famous southern tour. He spent the night in the Indian Queen, which was actually located on this street, Broad. Accounts indicate that Lafayette came from Washington on such short notice that the official welcoming committee was not able to get to the Virginia line to meet him. Murfreesboro saved the state from embarrassment by rushing a delegation of its own citizens to Somerton, Virginia for the reception. A ball was planned for the honoree by local citizens, but Lafayette's carriage got stuck in the mud and he arrived too late for the ball. But he did hear a welcoming address by Attorney Thomas Manny and was treated to dinner. If you had been living in Murfreesboro 200 years ago, where would you have shopped for staples such as salt, coffee, cloth for sewing, and hardware like hose, rakes, hammers, and nails? Where else but the Ray store on William Street? Now the oldest commercial brick building in North Carolina, the facility was built in 1790 by William Ray, a Boston merchant and shipper. In later years, the Ferguson Agricultural Implement Company, which built the first peanut picker, occupied the building. Today, the structure serves as a fascinating museum of local life. One section of the museum depicts the interesting life and work of Hertford County native Richard Gatling. This is an example of one of the guns Gatling invented. Perhaps the most interesting place in the historic district is the Winborn Country Store. Let's take a quick peek inside. In just this building, there are over 5,000 artifacts, such as this old milkshake machine and coffee grinder. Can't you just picture the gentleman of the day having a serious checker game near the old pot-bellied stove? Adjacent to the building is the Ellicott Kemp Garden. This is a popular spot to enjoy the floral beauty and watch children discover the wonders of nature. Across from the garden is the John Wheeler House, a house that serves as the association's educational house museum. The house has been furnished by an 1832 inventory listing and features a reproduction of the original 19th century wallpaper. At one time, there were over 19 children living in this house. The most famous Wheeler son was John Hill Wheeler, the first native North Carolinian to write the history of North Carolina. He was educated at Hertford Academy, which is now owned by the Historical Association and serves as a cultural arts center. Listed in the National Register of Historical Places, this federal-style structure became the home of the Academy in 1811, where the Reverend Jonathan Otis Freeman taught reading, spelling, arithmetic, Latin, Greek, geography, English grammar, natural philosophy, logic, and the use of gloves. In 1848, the building was acquired for the Chowan Female Institute, which later became Chowan College. Today, it is a coeducational junior college with an enrollment of close to 1,000 students. This is the Columns Building, which was erected in 1851. The landscape layout of the original campus was designed by an Irish gardener. Throughout the historic district, there are numerous historically significant private homes. One of these, the Morgan Myrick House, was once occupied by James Morgan. In 1831, Morgan moved to Texas, taking his slaves with him as indentured servants. One of his slaves, Emily, was the heroine of the Battle of San Jacinto in 1836 and was the subject of the song, The Yellow Rose of Texas. Another house important to Murfreesboro's past is this 19th century structure. It was twice occupied by Reverend Samuel Reed and his family when it served as the parsonage for the Methodist Church. Dr. Walter Reed, son of Reverend Reed, was a small boy during the first occupancy and was a medical student during the second period. While visiting his parents here, he met and married the girl across the street, Emily Lawrence. Walter Reed discovered the cure for yellow fever. Historic Murfreesboro is a wonderful place to recapture the spirit of the Old South. This quaint village is rich in history, proud of its past, and sure of its future.
In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? Ain't it just like a friend of mine to hit me from behind? Yes, I'm gone